There are moments in music history that feel frozen in time. A smile, a glance, a single note played before the lights fade. For Ozzy Osbourne, the man the world came to know as the Prince of Darkness, those moments became more than just performances. They became symbols of resilience, chaos, and love. Imagine the roar of the crowd, the spotlight cutting through the smoke, and Ozzy standing there with that unforgettable grin. It wasn't just a smile. It was defiance, it was gratitude, it was a final gift to the fans who had followed him through every storm. As the years went on and his body grew weaker, those fleeting smiles became rarer, yet more powerful. Each one felt like a farewell without words, a reminder that legends don't fade quietly. Tonight, we revisit those final beautiful moments, the last smiles, the last words, the final echoes of a man who changed rock forever. This is not the end. This is a tribute to everything Ozzy left behind. Before the world knew his name, John Michael Osbourne was just a boy from Aston, Birmingham, a working-class kid surrounded by the smoke and steel of England's industrial heart. Life was never easy. His family struggled with poverty, and school offered him little promise. Yet in that bleak environment, young Ozzy discovered two things that would shape his destiny: a love for music and a voice unlike any other. It was raw, haunting, and carried a weight far beyond his years. In the late 1960s, a group of friends with little more than borrowed instruments and a shared hunger for something different decided to form a band. They weren't looking to make history. They were simply trying to escape the grind of factory life. With Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums, they joined forces with Ozzy's piercing vocals. Together, they created something the world had never heard before: heavy, dark, and unsettling. That band would become Black Sabbath. Their sound was born from the factories, the noise, and the shadows of Birmingham itself. It was heavy metal in its purest, most primal form, and Ozzy stood at its center, his voice soaring like a warning siren. Tracks like Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs turned the group into pioneers of a new musical frontier. For fans, Black Sabbath wasn't just music, it was rebellion, an escape from conformity and a doorway into something louder, darker, and more real than anything that had come before. From those humble beginnings, Ozzy Osbourne transformed from a poor boy with little hope into the face of a global revolution in rock. Birmingham gave him his grit, his darkness, and his drive, and Black Sabbath gave him immortality. As the 1970s roared on, Ozzy Osbourne's voice became the unmistakable call of a new era. He wasn't just the frontman of Black Sabbath, he was its raw, unfiltered soul. His stage presence was wild, unpredictable, and at times terrifying. With eyes that burned into the crowd and a scream that could shake the walls of any venue, Ozzy became more than a singer. He was a force of nature. Fans didn't just watch him, they were consumed by him. But the rise of a legend is never without chaos. Drugs, alcohol, and the whirlwind of fame pushed Ozzy deeper into the image of the madman of rock. Tales of his outrageous antics spread faster than the music itself. Biting the head off a bat, snorting ants, living life in a haze of excess. For some, it was scandal. For his fans, it only made him more mythic. The darker and stranger the story, the larger Ozzy loomed in the imagination of rock culture. And yet, behind the madness was brilliance. His voice gave metal its chilling edge, his persona gave it its theatricality, and his unpredictability gave it life. Albums like Master of Reality and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath didn't just define heavy metal, they built its very foundation. With every howl and every guttural note, Ozzy carved his identity into music history. Soon, the world crowned him with a title that would follow him forever, the Prince of Darkness. And he wore it proudly, not as a curse, but as a badge of honor. To his fans, he was the embodiment of rebellion and freedom, living proof that rock was not meant to be safe, clean, or polite. It was meant to be loud, dangerous, and unforgettable. And Ozzy Osbourne was all of those things. Behind the leather jackets, the screaming crowds, and the wildest headlines, there was another side of Ozzy Osbourne that the world sometimes forgot to see. He was not only the Prince of Darkness, he was a husband, a father, and a man who, beneath all the chaos, craved love and connection. When the cameras stopped rolling and the stage lights dimmed, Ozzy returned to his family. With Sharon by his side, he found stability in the storm. Their relationship was not without battles, arguments, separations, reconciliations, but it was also the backbone of his survival. Sharon wasn't just his wife. She was his anchor, the one who believed in him when the world thought he was finished. The world got a glimpse of this personal side in the early 2000s, when the Osbournes' reality show burst onto television screens. Fans who had known Ozzy only as the terrifying frontman suddenly saw a man shuffling through his kitchen in slippers, mumbling in his unique, lovable way, and trying to parent his children. The show revealed his humor, his vulnerability, and his endless quirks, and audiences couldn't get enough. Through his family, Ozzy became more than a rock legend. He became relatable. He wasn't just a distant icon of rebellion anymore. He was a dad who worried about his kids, a husband who leaned on his wife, a man who struggled but always tried. That human side made his story even more powerful. Behind the darkness was light. Behind the chaos was love. And behind the legend was a family that turned the untouchable Ozzy Osbourne into someone real, someone human, and someone unforgettable. For all the fire and fury Ozzy Osbourne unleashed on stage, his fiercest battles were fought in silence, far from the roar of the crowd. Fame had lifted him into the stratosphere, but it also dragged him into a shadowy world of addiction, illness, and personal demons. Drugs and alcohol became both his escape and his prison. The very excess that made him a rock icon nearly destroyed him from within. Ozzy spoke openly about these struggles later in life. He admitted to losing control, to hurting those closest to him, and to teetering on the edge of self-destruction. There were moments when his career seemed over, when fans feared the legend they loved was slipping away forever. Rehab, relapses, and hospital visits became part of his story. But every time the world thought it had seen his last performance, Ozzy found a way back. Illnesses, too, tried to silence him. Parkinson's disease, injuries, and the toll of decades on the road left his body fragile. Yet even as he staggered and trembled, Ozzy refused to let go of music. He showed up at award ceremonies, spoke to fans, and reminded everyone that his spirit was still unbroken. The Prince of Darkness gave his fans light, even when his own life was clouded in shadows. That is why his legacy will never fade. As we look back on his journey, from the smoky streets of Birmingham to the birth of heavy metal to the chaos of fame and finally to the quiet moments of reflection, we see not just a performer, but a man who lived every moment without apology. Every scream, every lyric, every trembling smile told us the same truth: legends never die. And so, as the final images fade to black, we do not say goodbye. We carry his music, his spirit, and his fire with us. Because Ozzy Osbourne will live forever, in every riff, in every fan's memory, and in every heart that still beats to the sound of heavy metal. If his music touched you, if his story inspired you, then share this tribute, leave your thoughts in the comments, and keep his legacy alive. And don't forget to subscribe for more tributes as we continue to honor the icons who shaped our world. For now, we simply say, thank you, Ozzy, forever the Prince of Darkness.